Hello. One more opportunity to try to tap into the mind of a designer who's working on logos. Here I'm going to share with you a little bit of some time that I spent trying to better logos that already existed that were made by somebody else. I was hired by the Missoula Downtown Association to work on creating a style sheet for their existing logos, but also try to clean up the so-called mess that they had of a lot of different logos from different times and different people, and try to pull together a common sort of thread and presentation of these brands that represent the same entity, but a lot of sub-entities within it. So here's the first one that we'll look at. This is the Downtown Missoula Partnership. The logo that I got was this one here on the left. And I looked at it and I was like, well, it's good. It's a good start, but there are still things that we need to address to make this a stronger logo. And I'm saying this with no offense to the original designer. It's just that a lot of people find themselves in situations where someone says, oh, I hear you can do this. Can you create us a logo? And of course, you're going to say, yeah, because I want money and I want the experience. But you just may not be completely ready to create the most awesome logo, but it's a good start. So whoever created this first logo, they did a great start, but there are a lot of little things that I ended up picking apart to make a better, stronger logo for these guys. So here's the breakdown. This first logo is one that just had to have a few things adjusted. If you think about the image itself, it has the Caras Park tent. That's what this whole arched thing is here. And then it has these waves, and that is the Clark Fork River. So it's beautiful. I mean, their idea is genuinely on track. But as we start to put all these things in here, there are things that they and you as a designer need to pay attention to. And here we go. All right, look at this. So think about distances and edges. If we look at the distance that was established between the bottom of the word downtown and this first green shape, and then the word partnership, that is pretty uniform. It's pretty close. It actually favors the space between partnership and downtown. There's a little bit more here than there, but it's real close. But what didn't happen is that that space was not afforded all the way around the word downtown. So as we come over here to the left, we can see it's skinnier. And then in fact, it's so skinny, it cuts part of the D off. And as we go to the right side, there is no space between the A and the edge. And this has to do with giving your typography and your text its own space to breathe. If someone is standing uncomfortably close to you that you don't know, even if you might know them, you're going to want to step away a little bit because we all need our own space. And the same thing happens to our eyes when you look at things in design. If it doesn't have a proper space, then we feel uncomfortable. So here I said, all right, here's what we got to do. We got to make sure there's enough space between the A and the edge and the D and the edge, and we shouldn't be cutting this off here. And then a few other little details. I said this M comes and hangs down and sticks into the S. That's a little awkward, so we'll have to cap that element off. This is just part of the font, I'm sure, and that it was overseen by the designer because they weren't trained to look for this stuff. Then at the bottom in the waves, there's this like really kind of awkward little bump in the waves and a little bit of the under bump there. So what I did is I took all of those elements and gave the proper breathing room around the D and the proper breathing room around the A. I brought up that stem of the M, and then I removed that awkward bump so that it has a beautiful centered arc in the middle. And then just a few other things I did is I ended up using some of the same color of the waves for the text underneath, and I tightened up that line spacing so that it just felt more concrete and solid, less airy, and gives us more of a grounding for the logo. So if you compare those two, you can definitely tell, and I'm not trying to just pat myself on the back, that the right version is way more solid than the left. And those are the things you, as a designer, must look for in your work to make it so that it's solid. Don't just create something and walk away from it. Go through every little corner and think of all of the different, equalizations and averaging and proper spacing so that you have something that is stronger. Here's another one where this was the original logo on the left, and here is the new logo on the right that I created. Downtown Business Improvement District, the BID. So we've got this cool little silhouette of a downtown with some hills behind it. Great concept, great start. But as we come downwards, we've got letters and words that go away, that go beyond the boundaries of the first established form at the top. So I was like, all right, this is easy. This one's really easy. I'm going to take this whole logo and I'm going to make the blue a box. So here we see the blue has been made into a box with a relieved area of the same downtown mountains. The BID has the common color of blue because it is the important part of the abbreviation of the company. And then for the detail of Business Improvement District, it stands out with contrast of black. And then of Missoula is relieved out of white, just like the downtown is at the top. So it's kind of bookended, How do you start a film and how do you end it? You start it with credits, you end it with credits. In good design, maybe you even bookend it that way. You say this is going to be relieved in white out of the top, and it'll be relieved in white at the bottom. Okay, now we're going all the way over here. This one was also one where I had to emphasize a few certain changes. The first was obviously spacing issues with the word association. Look at this. Association is way over on the left. It's not centered. So my first instinct was just to say we need balance. So let's balance the word association under the middle arch. Then I noticed that the outcropping of this tree and the outcropping of that tree kind of invade upon the space of the text Missoula Downtown. So I just tucked those trees in behind that purple arch just to give it more room. That's kind of a no-brainer. Here was, well, this logo was pretty much done here on the left, and then all I did was make sure that it was that they had options, so that if it was on a transparency or a lighter or darker background, they had their options. So here's the first one with a white box with rounded corners around it, so that it would pop if it was on a dark background or some sort of image that had texture and pattern, so they could pop. If it needed to be a darker version, I just inverted the colors. So the background was purple and the text was white. And then I gave the group also just a nice, clean, totally transparent version of that, so that it could reside as long as it wasn't a heavy textured or busy background on a transparency. And that's it. All right. So there's a little breakdown of how you can find some flaws in design, but also how you can avoid your own flaws in your logo design. Hope that helped.